In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an SEO plugin from the very beginning, the first time configuration, to making sure that the sitemap is super clean, to how to set up the most important features like the SEO title and the meta description. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but with a different SEO plugin. And if you stick around, you're going to hear my pick for the one you should be using. So let's get into it by using the most popular SEO plugin, Yoast.
I totally forgot to mention that this video was actually inspired by a YouTube comment. Shout out to Sid Plays Bass for mentioning this topic. Just want to make sure I threw that in there. Shout out to you. You leave a YouTube comment, know that I read it, and it could be the inspiration for videos soon. Leave comments, people.
In case we haven't met, my name is Sam Sarson. I'm the owner of Then Can Designs, an SEO agency out in Bend, Oregon, and I help small businesses that serve local customers get more TLC, traffic, leads, and clients. And today I want to share the way I set up SEO plugins on sites for either my business or for my clients' businesses. Now, before we get started, there's a few things I want to mention. The first thing is that we are talking about WordPress, and so you won't be able to follow these directions. If you're not using WordPress, this will be more theoretical for you. WordPress has these things called plugins, and we're going to primarily be using a plugin called Yoast because it's free. However, there are a lot of SEO plugins out there. Don't worry, we'll talk about that in a second. What's really important is you have to make sure you never have multiple SEO plugins installed unless you're migrating from one to another. So that brief period while you're migrating, that's okay. But after that, you only want to have one. You can actually hurt your SEO by doing that. So be very careful to only have one installed ever. In this video, we're going to dive deep on the topic of making sure that our sitemap is clean. And part of that would really involve setting up 301 redirects. However, in this video, I'm not going to show you how to set up 301 redirects. There are plenty of other videos on YouTube that cover that. If you would like me to create a video on how to set up 301 redirects properly, especially for local SEO, leave a comment below and I'll put that video in the queue and we'll knock it out down the road. This video is going to be broken up into chapters, and so the first thing we'll do is talk about SEO plugins. If you kind of already know which one you're going to use, you can skip past that one and get right into how to set up your SEO plugin using Yoast. At that point, we'll talk about sitemaps because you want to make sure your sitemap is clean if you want to see your site ranking on Google. And then we'll talk about how to set up your SEO title and meta description, so that way you can see how to do that, which is probably the most important feature, which is probably why you're watching this video. After that, I'm going to talk about how to do a lot of the same settings with SEOPress, just so you can see how to do it with two different plugins. And so that way, whichever one you're using, you should feel pretty comfortable by the end of that. And then we'll talk about what to do after you've set those things up. Let's get into it. All right, so here we are inside of Yoast plugin, and the first time you get to it, you're going to do an initial setup. So a lot of these plugins will have some sort of setup stage, and so this is what it looks like for Yoast. It'll have you do this data optimization. We've already done that, so we can just hit continue. The next step involves setting up the local business schema. The nice thing about these tools is it makes it so you don't have to worry about it. It'll just handle all these steps for you. Back in the day, you used to have to hand code this. Not cool, right? But now it'll walk you through the settings that you have to do here. Pretty straightforward. And now you can enter your social profiles with Yoast. They have Facebook and Twitter by default. You can click on add another profile and you can fill in your other socials right here. From there, you can go to personal preferences, and this is pretty much where they try to get you to sign up for their email newsletter here or send data analytics over to Yoast. Sometimes that might be a good idea. Since these are my clients' websites, I typically don't do that. Then we hit save changes, and at that point we're done. That's how easy it was. But that's not all. That's usually where a lot of these videos stop, and there's actually a lot more that needs to be done. Now at this point, we have to make sure that our sitemap is clean, and we're going to talk about the sitemap a little bit more. We're going to see what it looks like, but I'm going to show you the recommended settings here. And so the way to do this is to go to Yoast SEO settings, and so just go to settings right here on the left of the WordPress dashboard, and then you scroll down and you can view the sitemap here. But the key here is we want to go through and we want to start looking at all the content types and seeing what's being indexed and what's not being indexed. And what that means is if it's indexed, it's in the sitemap. If it's not indexed, it's not in the sitemap. Let's start by the home page. You'll see by default that'll just go in there. And then we're going to start working our way down. We'll have posts. And this is the box that we're worried about right here. You see that little box right there? And so if we want it to be indexed, we'll check it on. If not, we'll check it off. Pages should always be checked. Post should be checked if you have a blog. If you don't have a blog, leave it unchecked. Most small businesses that serve local customers don't need a blog when they first start. However, if you have some posts and they're ranking for informational keywords, then you will want to keep this checked. You'll also probably have a projects content type as well. You will definitely have things like categories and tags, and so you just have to go through and check both of these. Often there will be two. See that? See how there's two of each one? One of these is the regular one and one of these is for archive. So I'm just going through to make sure that it's really, really clean. All right, sound good? Now that the settings for the sitemap are dialed in, we don't have any extraneous pages, we can go to our sitemap, which we open up right here, and we'll see that every sitemap has kind of an index sitemap, and the way you get to it is different for different SEO plugins. So note that right now it's sitemap underscore index.xml. That brings us to our index sitemap, and then page dash sitemap XML will take us to our page sitemap, which just has the home page. Again, this is just a single landing page for a local business. So very simple. That's exactly what we want to see. We don't want to see any extraneous pages. And think about it, when we build sites, we often have these extra pages. Maybe we're testing stuff out, trying different pages out. We want to make sure that those don't get indexed. And so sometimes we have to turn that off manually. So now let's see how to de-index a specific page. And while we're doing that, we'll also see how to add the SEO title, the meta description, and we'll check out some of Yoast's other features. You're going to click Pages to look at all the pages for your website. For this one, it's just the home page. And we don't want to edit with Divi. If you're a Divi user, that's what you're probably used to hitting. You're going to hit Edit, and this will bring up a different screen. And to make sure that you're not indexing the page, you scroll down here to get to the Yoast little box right here. And there's an Advanced tab down here. And you want to select No and No. And what that's doing is it's telling the search engines, do not index this page, please ignore it. The search engines don't have to comply, but typically they do. Now the most important setting that you have to set for each page of your website is your SEO title. Now I want to show you a feature that these plugins have. So if we go back to the page we were on before, we go to settings, we go to content types, we go to pages, for instance, you can actually set a default SEO title and a default SEO meta description. This could be helpful if you have a lot of pages. However, if you're a small business that serves local customers, you probably only have somewhere between a handful of pages and maybe 20 at the most. And this is so crucial. Your SEO title can literally change your ranking overnight. I've seen it happen over and over again. So you don't want to settle for what Yoast is coming up for by default. Great feature, nice to have, especially if you write a lot of blogs, whatever. We don't typically do that in our space, and so we want to dial it in perfectly. This would be a good time to check out some of our keyword research videos. We have one for absolute beginners in case you have no idea what a keyword is, you want to start there. And then we also have a video that helps you find your primary keyword. And so be sure to check out those videos, especially for your main service. You want to find out your primary keyword, and you can just repeat that same process over and over again for your other services. You want to get those pages dialed in. Once you know what your main keyword is, then you're going to go to your SEO title here in Yoast, and you're going to put it in. So you can see we put professional knife sharpening in Bend, Oregon, and then I had enough room left over, so I put the name of the business in there as well. By the way, this business isn't open anymore. Don't try to get your knife sharpened by Knife Doctor. Below that is the meta description. And this is not a ranking factor. This is just what entices users to click on your site. Let me show you what I mean. When we search knife sharpening in Bend, Oregon, we see several examples, including Knife Doctor here in the map pack, which we always like to see, even off of one review. And then there's Knife Doctor showing up very high in the search results. And so what I want you to see is that this part right here is the SEO title. So if we go back to Yoast, we'll see that Google has actually overwritten this and taken off Knife Doctor on the end and just left Professional Knife Sharpening in Bend, Oregon. Interesting how that works, right? And then down here is the meta description, which is exactly what we have here. I've seen Google change this a lot. And so the meta description does change quite often, and Google is totally in control of that. And then this little thing is usually the featured image, which you can see right here, but Google has chosen a different image. So we are always beholden to Google's decisions here. But again, we have your SEO title, your meta description, and your featured image. Now I should mention that the SEO title is the most important thing you can set for your page. I recommend doing your service in your city with your state. If there's enough room left, then you can also include your brand name, but it's not important because if you look right here, your brand name will show up in the search results above the link. I should mention that this meta description is not a ranking factor. It will not help you rank higher or lower, and so you just want to make sure that you say something that could be enticing to the user. However, notice that if we put keywords in there, they get bolded nowadays. And so that's an interesting thing to remember. Now there's one last thing I want you to look at, is that, and it's hard on this one, but let me show you a different SERP here, which stands for Search Engine Result Page here. So this is the search result for SEO Bend, Oregon. And I want you to see that down here, we have SEO titles and meta descriptions as we work our way down. But if you look underneath the brand names, like Then Designs, it says SEO Bend, Oregon. Under these guys, it says SEO, Bend SEO, Local SEO. What that is the slug or the permalink for the page. So if I click on the page itself, I'm actually going to see that up here. That was SEO Bend, Oregon. Again, if we go right here, that's the slug. And so a lot of pages will use that to their advantage and stuff keywords in there. It's perfectly fine as long as it's still a good user experience. So we don't want to over optimize. I've had the pendulum swing too far. So if you want to change the slug in Yoast, that's right here. For the home page, you'll typically just leave that as home, and then you want to make sure that the URL right here, which is where you set the permalink, is just the name of the website. Here's a different page, but you set the permalink in the same spot anywhere in WordPress. And so you would go here, and this is how I could change the permalink. But do not do this with reckless abandon. This is where you would want to set up a 301 redirect. Again, if you want a video on that, leave a comment below. I will add that to the queue. We'll get a video that talks all about 301 redirects because it's super important, especially if that page is ranking. You do not want to burn down any SEO juice that you already have. Okay? And the last thing I want to show off for Yoast is some of its extra features. Now these are great, especially if you're writing a blog, but I don't think that you should really rely on these. And there's a lot of videos out there like how to get a green light on Yoast, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. But just don't worry about it. Just follow the practices that are laid out in this channel, and you will not have to worry about getting a green light on Yoast, okay? Especially if you're a local business. Don't worry about it. So we can't even see the content of the page because we're using something like Divi. You'd see the same thing if we're using Elementor or some other page builder like Bricks. And so here is Yoast right here on the edit page. What you can do is you can set your focus key phrase here. And just so you know, Google doesn't use keyword meta tags. They haven't for over almost 15 years now. And what it will do is it'll kind of scan your page to make sure you're using your keywords. And if you want, you go down to here, the SEO analysis, and it'll let you know like, hey, you're using your key phrase here, 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 and here, but you should be using it here, 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 and here. And then it also has a readability score where it'll tell you you're doing these things well and you could be doing these things better. My recommendation is to never look at these settings ever. Maybe that's too harsh. If you're just getting started, especially if you're starting to write blogs, it could be helpful to see what good SEO would look like from a technical perspective. Because remember, at the end of the day, it's just an algorithm looking at your content. And so it does have to kind of work for algorithms. But remember, we're also writing for humans. And so don't write for the green light in Yoast, write for humans. And also write for Google. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this channel. By the way, make sure you're subscribed. you're subscribed, right? All right, now let's shift gears and talk about a different SEO plugin, SEOPress. Now, if you skipped ahead to just the SEOPress section, I do kind of recommend you go back to the Yoast one because I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into Yoast than I will in SEOPress. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. So hang with me here. First thing you want to do is go through the initial setup with SEOPress. To do that, you hit Get Started. You'll be greeted with this screen. The first step, it asks you if you want to import from another plugin. So this would be that rare situation where you'd have two plugins at the same time because you're moving from one to the other. And so you pick that, say we're switching from Yoast. If you're not going to do that, you can just click skip this step down here. Just like we did on Yoast, this is the local business schema right here. And then you can put in your social profiles here. And then this is where you will start to tell it what pages you do or do not want to index. Again, go back to the other section if you don't know what I'm talking about here. This website is my website and I have blog posts, so I'm going to say index the post, which is different than what we did with the last one. So there's a very good chance you don't want to index post. So if you missed that first part, don't index post unless you have blog posts. Save and continue. Now I also have a special plugin called DiviPixel. It's pretty cool, not sponsored, just something I use. DiviPixel adds extra taxonomies, as they're called, to your sitemap. We want to keep our sitemap clean. That's the goal of this. And so we're going to go through and I'm going to uncheck all of these. I always uncheck, well, I should say check in this case, the archives as well. I don't like having the categories or the tags. There is an argument where if you do a certain type of blogging, it would be helpful to have categories, but typically just leave that blank. And again, here's all those taxonomies for Google Pixel. So I'm going to hit save and continue. And then they recommend to redirect the attachment pages and remove the categories. So I'm going to follow their instructions. And then they ask you to turn on this universal SEO meta box, which we'll see in a second, which is how you do the SEO settings. And then they try to make you spend money on their insights platform. Sorry, SEOPress, I'm going to skip this step. And then I'm going to go back to the settings here. This brings us back to this page. You're not done yet. This is not where the video ends. You have to go to this section right here and double check. For you, this will probably be wrong. It will not match what you just said. I don't know why, but that's just a quirk of SEOPress. Go to post types. Make sure that the checkboxes match what you want in your sitemap. I want pages. You always want pages. I also want posts because I have blog posts. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then we're going to click on taxonomies here, and you want none of these checked unless for some reason you're one of those rare people that wants to have categories included as well, and chances are you don't. And so that's just something to think about. Again, you'd want to set up a 301 redirect. This is not a 301 redirect tutorial. If you want to see that, comment below and I will make a video on that down the road. Let's hit save changes and let's take a look at the sitemap. That's right here. And just like with Yoast, we have an index sitemap, and then we have a page sitemap and a post sitemap. So if I click on post sitemap, these are all the blog posts that I've ever written. If I look at the page sitemap, these are all the pages. It should be very clean. There shouldn't be any extraneous pages. Some of these pages live underneath other pages. I have a service areas page, and then I have service area pages underneath the parent page that is service areas. However, it's very clean. Other than that, I don't even have my privacy pages indexed. And so what if you had a page on here you didn't want to have indexed? So just like we did with Yoast, we would go to the page by hitting edit page, not edit with Divi or Elementor or whatever you're using. And then SEOPress uses this little meta box if you want. I like it. It's just handy because it's there. It's also there when you're editing with Divi, so that's kind of cool to have it pop up. And then if you don't want the page to index, you hit advanced, and then you would check all of these. I check all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 things. In Yoast there was 2, there's 5. And this is just more clean. So I like to do all those. And then if you need to set your SEO title and meta description, again, in case you skipped the part, this is the SEO title, this is the meta description. Google often swaps these out for other things. They definitely did that on this page, as you'll see. But we go here and we put in the SEO title right here, which should be your service in your city and state. If you had enough room, you would put the brand name as well. Nobody else is doing the brand name, and so watch Steal My SEO Strategy video series. I ranked for this keyword following that video series, and so I noticed that nobody else is using their brand names or Google stripped it out, and so I'm just going to leave it be. And then this is the meta description, which Google's not including, but it is what it is. And again, these settings don't change, but if you want to change the featured image, that would be right here. And then This is where you would change the permalink, which I showed earlier in the video because I couldn't change the permalink for the last one because it was the home page. But this is where you change the permalink. Again, don't change the permalink without setting up 301 redirect in case you've been getting traffic, in case you have any backlinks pointing to that site. You will just confuse everything and probably hurt your SEO. Again, if you want to see that video, leave a comment. I will make that video. And that's it for SEOPress. So now we've seen 2 SEO plugins, and now your question might be, which one do you use, Sam? Well, I use SEOPress because I use SEOPress Pro. At the time, it was $50 for a year, which I thought was reasonable. The price has gone up to $150 per year. In my opinion, most people, especially if you're a small business owner, will do just fine with the free version of Yoast. And so I encourage most people to get started with Yoast. But if you've stuck with me to this point in the video, you'll see that it doesn't really matter. They kind of have the same features. It's just stuff's in different places. And so it's kind of a pick your poison or whichever one works better for you. All right, so now we know how to use these plugins, but what do we do next? Well, this is where I would recommend checking out our other videos on keyword research. You want to make sure that your SEO title and meta description are perfect for each one of your pages, particularly your service pages. And then you want to make sure that each page is optimized for on-page SEO. And if you don't know how to do that, I would recommend going to Steal My SEO Strategy number 2, because that's where I broke it down of how I set up the structure and why I did it that way. So that's a really great video. In case you've gotten this far in the video and you're thinking, man, I do not know what to do next. That's okay. Let me take care of that for you. Head over to thencandesigns.com/review and you can get a free marketing review for your business. And along the way, I'm going to give you 3 actionable items that you can do next for your business. Let me figure it out for you. It's that easy. All you got to do is fill out a form. It takes less than 5 minutes. Seriously, why are you still watching this video? Go to thencandesigns.com/review. Let's get in touch and let's see if maybe I can at least point you in the right direction. And if you're a big fan of DIYing your SEO for your small business, then please head over to yoursmallbizseosuccess.com right now and sign up for our weekly email newsletter to help your business rise the ranks at Google in 2024, because this is the year for your business. I firmly believe it. All right, small biz owner, now you know how to use an SEO plugin for WordPress. And if you're not using WordPress, you learned a little bit more about how to index pages, your sitemap, when to use 301 redirects, but not how to. Leave that comment below. And you also know where to set your SEO title and your meta descriptions and a little bit of how to do that. Make sure you check out the other videos on this channel that talk about how to do keyword research, because they will help you along the way. Be sure to smash that like button so other small business owners like you can find this video more easily. While you're thinking about which one of those videos to watch next, head down to the comments below and let me know which SEO plugin do you use and why do you use it. See you in the next one, small biz owner.